Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. Don't mind my voice. I am still getting over the death cold, as I am affectionately calling it. But I am fresh out of the shower and I've had a good swish of cough syrup. So hopefully I will make it through this video all right. But I just wanted to welcome you all back to Self-Worth Saturday. I have to say, not making videos for the past almost 2 weeks has felt really weird. That is the longest gap I've had since I started my channel, and I have to say it's become like a real touch point for me in my days and my weeks. So no videos at all for almost 2 weeks, and I am like, what is happening with my life? But as you can hear probably in my voice, things are still a little rough, but we're gonna go with it. And Peggy also has this kind of voice, so we will see how it goes in the live chat. We're probably gonna have to sip on some beverages or something to keep us like... Do you see my dog just rolling around in the back? So that's a thing. So this week's topic for Self-Worth Saturday was actually requested quite some time ago and has been on the poll in our Supportive Tarot Facebook group for a while now, and it has definitely had the most votes for at least a few weeks. So we are going to be talking about being the black sheep, either of your family or your community group, or just generally not fitting in. The twist is that I'm going to talk about why that actually makes you really amazing and the gold you can mine out of that situation, because I know that for a lot of us, when we feel like we don't fit in, it feels like this massive handicap for our lives. And there are definitely rough things about not feeling like you fit in, but there are also some really amazing things that you get to experience as a result. So stick with me. Hopefully I will make sense of that and we'll see how it goes. Also, I apologize for any traffic noise, but my window is open so that I can breathe. So there's that. Remember that if you are new here to my channel or to Self-Worth Saturday and you love content like this, I can't believe he's derping like that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell so that you are notified of my videos when they go up, or my live chats, because sometimes I'm somewhat spontaneous about lives. Bruno, you're stealing all the attention. Can you not? Look at him. He's like, what? Moving on. So here's the thing about being the black sheep. I want to make sure that we're sort of framing this discussion around this idea that this might actually be your superpower. But first, let's talk about what it means to not fit in, or maybe how we ended up here. So for some of us, we were raised in environments which taught us that we might be expected to behave in a particular way. And when I say for some of us, I should actually say for basically all of us, because whether you're a girl that was socialized to be a girl, or a boy that was socialized to be a boy, or some mix-up of those two things, which is also a thing that happens, or whether you were raised to be the good kid, or raised and in a way that where you felt like you were expected to be the bad kid or the rebel. Most of us were raised in situations where we felt a pressure or an expectation to be a certain way. So a lot of times this shows up for us in like just normal ways. This shows up, girls are expected to do certain things with their lives, or if we look at even like 20 or 30 years ago, maybe not even that long, some of you guys can weigh in, but girls were expected to graduate school and like find a nice boy and settle down, get married, and pop out some kids by the time they were like 30. And that wasn't that long ago. Boys are socialized to be the strong ones and the providers and all of this kind of stuff. And that's not even scratching the surface of things like queerness and identity and dysmorphia and all of those topics that we could go deep into, but that would be a very long video and I don't think my voice is up to it. So we also experience other things. We might experience things where we're feeling like we're pressured to make a certain amount of money, or we might have been raised by an educated family that had an expectation that we also go to university or get master's degrees or become authors or follow in our parents' footsteps on whatever career that they have. So sometimes we have all of this stuff that happens, and if we don't conform in any way or in some ways to those expectations or to some of those expectations, we start to feel like we're on the outside looking in. And sometimes that's something that bubbles up from within us that we experience and that we feel, but sometimes the people in our lives actively make us feel that way by their behavior, by the way they include or exclude us, and all of that kind of stuff. So that can actually lead to, in the worst situations, feeling or actually being cut off from the resources around us. So this could be resources of energy, time, money, love, affection. All of these things can be affected and impacted by us being on the outside or being the black sheep in our community group or in our family. When we feel like we don't belong amongst our peers or in our families, this can cause us to feel like we're not good enough. And let's face it, we already know that we experience tons of these messages of not being good enough in our day-to-day lives, let alone those messages that are reinforced by who we are because we don't fit some expected stereotype. That stereotype could be anything. It could be that you've been surrounded your whole life by thin people really into fitness and you are not neither thin nor into fitness. Could be that, like I said, like you don't make the same amount of money as your peers, or that you're not doing the same things your peers are doing. For me, growing up, outside of the stuff that happened in my childhood, which I'm sure we'll get into, if not in the live chat at some point, but in addition to the stuff that was in my family, there was also the stuff in like my peer groups. Things like I wasn't into makeup or popularity or excuse me, you're gonna have to deal with some coughing. I'm very sorry. I might actually take a little sip of my water. See if I can keep things under wraps. For those of you curious, sometimes I call this a beverage. This is water in my My Little Pony bedside cup. So I am not secretly drinking wine or other fun things. Although I would like to be, and I think alcohol might actually kill some of these residual cold germs, but it's water. Let's see if I can make it through the rest of this video without losing my voice entirely. So, when we feel like we're on the outside looking in, this can reinforce those feelings of not feeling good enough. It can also reinforce things like imposter syndrome, which is when we feel like we're a fraud because we feel like we're in a group we don't belong in. It's literally one of the most obvious manifestations of feeling like we're the black sheep or like we don't fit in. If we're lucky, there's my voice. If we're lucky, we can find other people who are different like us or different in relatable ways. And if we're lucky, we can form our own connections, our own bonds, our own families, and our own communities, even within the other communities, families, or groups that we're in. This is one of the things that can create a sensation for other people of cliques. This came up recently in a conversation somebody was having, I think it might have been Heather on her channel, about cliques or cliques within the YouTube community, tarot community. And sometimes what happens is that some of us with similar shared experiences connect on that deeper level, and it may make somebody else feel excluded, not because they're excluded, but because they maybe don't get the inside joke or whatnot. More water. I can do this. I apologize if this is painful for you. Trust me, I am like committed to making this one go, but I might have to keep it short. Okay, let's talk about how it can be empowering to not fit in. First of all, if you don't fit in, that automatically puts you in the position where you have to learn, excuse me, you have to learn or should learn, should you so choose, to define the rules you're going to live by. That means you get this real conscious opportunity to define your life. Sometimes when you do fit in, you get pigeonholed and you end up swept up in the cultural norm, and before you realize it, you've actually found out that you never did consciously decide the rules you were going to live by. But if you're already on the outside, you get to decide that stuff right up front. I'm going to be sipping a lot of water. Second, as I mentioned before, you have an opportunity to choose your tribe. You get to choose your family, choose your connections, and choose the people that you're going to surround yourself by. I am a strong, strong believer in chosen family. That doesn't negate the family that I was born into. It doesn't mean that they don't matter, but it does mean that I get to create healthy separation and boundaries between myself and my family of origin if that's what's best for me. And if those people initiate that feeling of me being the black sheep, if they push me out of that circle, That's okay, because I can find and form my own circle and my own family. And so there are people in my life that I very much consider family with a capital F that I am not related to. And I think that that can be a really empowering, beautiful, and wonderful thing to experience. And if you've never been the black sheep or never felt like you didn't fit in, you might not have ever had that opportunity to really choose who you're going to consider your family. You also gain new perspective. When you're on the outside looking in, you might be the outlaw or the rebel, but you are able to see things from a distance, which gives you a broader perspective. If you are the black sheep, or if you've ever felt like you were on the outside looking in, you might have noticed that you see and notice things about the groups that you are outside of that other people don't notice and don't see. And that can be a really healthy thing, because it can help you to determine what is good for you and what you want to involve yourself in and what you don't. And that can be so encouraging, or empowering is the word I want there. More water. That can be really, really empowering to be able to bring that kind of awareness to your life and to the people that you choose to engage with. Okay, so the other thing is that you get to really learn who you are, what you're passionate about, and then you get to be that thing. That is the most courageous act of personal growth and self-care that there can be. When you don't fit in and you actually define your life and you go, you know what, I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about tarot. And if that means that I don't fit in with these other people, that's okay. Because I now have this opportunity to learn and grow in ways that maybe they don't. And that's my edge, and that's my superpower. Yep. I can do this. More water. Okay, so what if you want to fit in anyways? You're like, yeah, okay, whatever, it's my superpower, but what if I want to fit in anyways? Know that not fitting in can be exhausting at times, so it's normal to wish that things were different. Acknowledge that longing and that desire to fit in, because that's what makes you human. But then decide if what you want to fit in is worth what you'd have to give up in order to do it. In other words, let's use a really obvious example that all of us can at least logically understand. Let's say you're gay, and therefore you don't fit in with the straight community. What would you have to give up to fit in that community? If you wanted to just like, forget that I'm gay for a second, how am I going to do this? Well, I'd have to give up romantic partnerships, probably forever, and I'd have to give up being who I really was, and so I'd have to pretend a lot. And when you start to frame this in your head, and you go, okay, I want to fit in, but first, what do I have to give up? Then you can actually make a conscious decision about what you're willing to give up to have the fitting in. And you can decide, would you rather fit in, or would you rather have these things over here that you would have to otherwise give up? And here's the interesting thing. You might decide, and nobody has the right to judge you for it. You might decide, I'd rather give these things up and go fit in over here. That's what I need right now. And that's okay. That's your decision, because guess what? It's your life, and you get to decide that stuff for yourself. I reached over here for my water. That's not my water. I'm confident my voice can make it. Let's see. Finally, safety. Sometimes fitting in is a coping mechanism that is necessary for you to get through your day-to-day life. Sometimes we have to force ourselves into boxes that we don't want to in order to feel safe, to make money, to, excuse me, to have a place to live. Sometimes we find ourselves squeezing ourselves into a particular societal norm or a family expectation so that we can get by, and there is no shame in that. It is your life, again, you get to decide, but some of us find ourselves in situations where we don't have the kind of power to be able to fully be ourselves. And when that happens, it's okay if that's the situation that you're in. There are ways to cope by journaling, finding ways to express yourself in safe ways, and you do what you have to do. And again, no shame in that, period. Okay, another beverage. I'm almost out of my water. What am I going to do? I'm going to start sucking on the bottle of cough syrup in a second if I have to. Okay. How do we practice embracing our differences? First, practice authenticity, whatever that means to you, in whatever amount feels safe or appropriate for your life and your life situation. 2, notice how you feel when you're being truly yourself versus when you're conforming. Awareness is mostly what you need in that situation. In other words, you may choose to continue to conform, but bring awareness to the table, and that will help you to determine when you're conforming or when you're just mindlessly getting swept up with other people's expectations. 3, find your people. Many people are different just like you or different in relatable ways. Find those people and create your own community if that's at all possible for you. 4, remember that you are valuable and worthy exactly as you are, and stop. Period. There is no qualifier to that. There is nothing that you need to do, no box you need to tick off anywhere in your life that will determine your value or worth as a human being. You are already worthy. You are already valuable exactly as you are. And we may not hear that enough from the people in our lives, but that doesn't make it untrue. Y'all, I got like 2 sips left. Like the straw doesn't work anymore. All right, 1 journal prompt and then a challenge and an oracle card reading. We can do it. Root for me, y'all. Number 1. Oh, there's only 1 journal prompt. So here's how it works. Think of something that makes you feel different and write about it as if it were your superpower. How does this thing benefit you? How does it shape who you are? That's it for journal prompts. Here's this week's challenge. I've got my Enchanted Map Oracle deck. This week's challenge, pick a period of time in this upcoming week. It could be an hour, it could be a day, it could be the whole week, depending on what your life can allow, practically and safely. But commit to being wholly and unapologetically yourself for that time period. And it's harder than it sounds. And this can look any way that you want it to look. Just be you. If there's something about yourself you struggle to express, to release, to let go, this is the time to play around with that. All right, guys. Remember baby steps too. It could be 5 minutes if that's what's easy. If that's what's doable. Make it doable no matter what. All right, let's see what our Oracle deck has to say to us about this week's message. And I'm going to use my final sip of water to see us through. The card I drew is commitment, and what this makes me think of is this idea of committing to the path that you feel like you're meant to walk. For some of us, we feel like we're the black sheep because of something that's different about us from the people that we spend most of our time with or from our families. For some of us, it could be an attitude, a way of life, a way of looking at things. For some of us, it might be who we intrinsically are. It could be our sexual identity. It could be our interest in things witchy or tarot. I'm going to try real hard not to cough on you. It could be any of those things. But commit to who you really, really are. That is the challenge for this week. I was so close. And then the cough had to come out. Okay. I'm going to call it here. Remember to join us afterwards for the live chat, especially if you want to see more of this lovely coughingness that's happening. I'm sure we will be a little bit better. I am recording this on Friday, so hopefully after a good night's sleep and lots of coffee and or tea, we'll be good. Chatty, but good. So hang out with us in the live chat if you would like. I will see you guys there. If you are watching this on my channel or at any point in the YouTubes, I would really, really, really love to hear in the comments below about your black sheep experience or the thing that makes you different and how that could be your superpower if you feel so called to share. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, for your patience over the last couple of weeks, and for putting up with this cold voice and coughing and all of that stuff. I appreciate you guys so, so much, and I've missed you all over the last couple of weeks, and I'm so glad to be back in whatever form that I'm back. But I will talk to you all again very, very soon. See you later, guys. Bye.